All right, welcome to the second presentation today. My apologies, it appears I'm experiencing some technical issues with my camera currently between the first and second meeting, so you're just going to have to look at my picture. At this point, we're going to jump right into things, and I'd like to introduce Team MC28 for Finalist presentation number 2. Take it away, team.
Hello, everyone. I will begin by sharing my screen. Can you please confirm if you can see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to introduce you to the group. We are from our college, and the group consists of Amira, Grace, Long, and myself. My name is Moyo. And today we'll be speaking on the analysis of municipal parking in Hamilton. We did our analysis, we did the data analysis, and we sourced our data from transactional data of surface parking lots in Hamilton. And I'll be speaking on the background, problem statements, and briefly on the data analysis. We did do a poster of our analysis, and this is just an overview of the poster, but we'll be speaking in depth on it shortly. So I'm just going to speak on the background, the problem, and then a little bit on the data analysis. In 2019, Hamilton City was operating about 4,600 off-street parking. However, by 2022, this has reduced by 330, and this is as a result of several things, such as some of these parking lots being sold or being repurposed for different uses. So therefore, the city is looking at understanding the present quantity that they've got, and they want to actually identify the user groups that utilize this parking lot. So analysis of these user groups, their behavior, their patterns can help to optimize the parking process and make it more personalized. And so that's one of the main aim of this analysis. And then the second aim is actually to look in-depthly into about 6 parking lots and see the peak period, the time of day, when is the entry time. So just to give you a brief understanding of what this the aim of this analysis, the first one is to identify the different user groups of parking in Hamilton. Then after identifying the user groups, identify their behavior, their occupation, what exactly it is that they do, how often do they use parking lots, do they have specific parking lots. And then the second is to actually identify the occupancy. So model occupancy based on either the time of day and the day of the week at which some of these parking lots are their busiest. And for these 6 parking lots were identified. For the first task, we actually, like I said earlier, we sourced our data from the transactional data. And what we did was we used the parking lots that had complete data. We ignored those that, and our range of data was taken from September and October of 2019 down to September, October 2020, and also 2021 of the same month. And what we did was we picked the parking lots with complete data for this time range, and we ignored those that had incomplete data or those that were kind of like discontinued or some within those time range. Some of the parking lots did not have complete data, hence they were not used. So the result of our analysis of the parking lot with complete data shows that in 2019, a total number of 138,472 hours was spent parking, and this data is showed with the terminal Cali terminal system. In 2020, Hamilton introduced passports, and that's why the passport data is missing from the 2019 metrics. In 2020, there was a slight increase, and it shows that parking increased to a total of 163,000 hours, And there was a large increase in 2021 because it's presently at 442,230 total parking hours. And so I'll be giving it over now to Grace. She'll be speaking on the, just gonna, hello, Grace.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace, and now I will taking over the next part of the analysis. So first, we see this diagram that's titled Performance by Areas. So right now, I'm going to taking you guys in analysis of the main 6 areas in Hamilton. So first, we can notice that from the orange and the yellow parts, it shows the downtown and the King Street West areas takes the highest and the second highest share of the total performance of the whole parking in municipal Hamilton parking lots, which downtown Hamilton takes about 25.21%, and King Street West area contributed to 22.65%. An interesting notice is King Street West area also is the highest growth rate area after 2 years, which is from 2019 to 2020, from 2019 to 2021. In 2021, it has over like a double increase, which is 102% from the previous 2 years parking. And downtown area also shows a great growth rate, which is counting to the second highest growth of 20.88% in the previous 2 years of the whole Hamilton. And now we can move to the graph in the left bottom. So Mario, could you zoom in it a little bit bigger?
My pleasure.
Yeah, so for the diagram in the left bottom, it shows in 2019 to 2020 period, people prefer to parking between 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. However, it's very interesting to show that in 2021, the time just shifted earlier from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., which indicates that is already a post-pandemic period in 2021, and people starts to go into parking or working earlier compared to the previous year. And then we see the diagram besides the one we just analyzed. It shows the parking durations between 2019 to 2020. Most of people, which is 65 to 64% of people, they parked within 2 hours in the previous 2 years. And compared to 2021, most of people parked from 10 to 12 hours. It also indicates that maybe in previous year, 2019 and 2020, people tends to go to the downtown area for shopping, or because of the COVID, there are a lot of food delivery industry rises. So delivery drivers just park there for maybe 5 to 15 minutes, which is also within 2 hours. So these are the user groups that takes the most percent for the 2019 and 2020 period. And in 2021, because of the economic recovery, people back to normal and back to work in the services around the area, and they park from morning to night in order to finish their work. And those portion is also increased to 80% compared to the previous, that most people, even for the most parking time is 2 hours, those amount of people only contain 65%. And now we can move into the next diagram, which is in an analysis of the weekdays or the weekend. So Mario, could you move up a little bit? Yes. So for the weekday operations in 2019, most people preferred to parking from Tuesday to Thursday during the weekday, and it contains around 63% of the parkings. But then in 2020, the preference of parking shifted to Wednesday to Friday, which is also around 60% of the parking time. And in 2021, the situation just remained unchanged, and people still prefer to park more towards the end of the weekdays. And the demand on weekday peaked at 80% of the occupied parking spaces, compared to in weekend, it's only 30% of occupied spaces. So it still shows that over the past years, from 2019 to 2021, people still go to work or moving their vehicles in weekday and decreased their traveling or commute in weekend. And then we can analyze the amount of vehicles and their parking times. So in contrast with the increasing performance of parking lots, actually, for the previous years in our analyzed period, the amount of vehicles actually decreased for their parking services by 10.55% to 52.42 thousand units in 2021. So we see this diagram, it shows a trend of decreasing, and vehicles also decreased their parking times, followed by the decreased parking vehicles. However, even though there is a trend of decreasing vehicles parked in Hamilton, the parking time is still in a contrast, which we analyzed before, that people parks longer in 2021. And now I will pass over to Long, who will be analyzing for the rest of the data analysis part.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Long.
Yeah. Now we're going to analyze the customer behavior, and the first point we're going to look at is to measure how loyal the customer are with the parking lot. So we measure it by the time they take they parking each year. As to be said, we set them like 8 times a year. So in this diagram, you can see that the number of repeated vehicle actually decreased, but it's a very small number, like approximately 4% each year from 2019 to 2021. However, the share of the repeated vehicle among the total vehicle participates in parking in Hamilton actually increased a little bit to 79%. It could show that the amount of the repeated vehicle also quite small. Also, it's increased, but it's still so small in compared with the other group. Mario, can you move to the other diagram, the next diagram?
My pleasure.
Yeah. However, but if we look at the time that they take the parking activities in Hamilton, it's so surprised that the increase like 30.72% to 10,030.33 in 2020, and however, next year we need to due to COVID. I think so. The parking activity reduced by nearly 80% to only 8.48,000 times in 2021. However, the parking activity of the repeated vehicles still take 1/5 of total parking activity for the whole year. So for the only 3%, we take 1/5. It's quite a surprise and impressive number. However, we want to take a look further a little bit we want to see that are they loyal to the parking lot or not. So we divide two situations. The first that the people who park in only one lot, and the other group is the people who park in more than one, from two above. So you can see that in 2019, there are only nearly 33% of repeated vehicle of about 210 units parked in only one parking lot. And the parking activities account for 1/3 of the parking activities of repeated vehicle. And in diagram, you can see is after 2 years is increased by 1/3 to 283, and the amount of the parking activity from the loyal, the one only park in one parking lot, increased to nearly 50% of the repeated vehicles in this year. Mario, can you move? So, but in the above diagram, we only compare like year within the year. Now we extend it, like we look for the people who survive in parking lot from like more than 2 years. So we can see that only 49% people can survive more than 2 years. Mario, can you move to another one? So in this one, we show them the 6 selected parking lots, and you can see that 18 and 40 had the highest. However, 40 has more than 600 parking lots, but it is second. The performance is quite lower than Park 82. So Amira, can you now take the conclusion and recommendation? Thank you so much for that. We only have 2 minutes.
In conclusion, although the spread of COVID-19 limited transportation, the parking activities still increased in general from 2019 to 2021, and this was mostly due to the lengthened duration per parking times. However, in contrast, there was a decrease in the number of vehicles that participated in parking activities. While combining the information with the situation of people parking at an earlier time, 2 years ago, our team assumed that even those that lived outside the city paid more attention to work because there are some cases that cars were parked for more than 1 day. Therefore, our recommendation to the city of Hamilton is that they should apply some technological development to improve the management of parking lots in Hamilton to deal with future increase in number of parking activities, especially since the parking duration is expected to lengthen, and to apply some incentives to encourage repeated and loyal customers to use the parking lots. It is also an approach to share the financial burden with the people of the city. This concludes our presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for the presentation. I'd like to open up the floor to the judges. Is there one of the judges who has a question right now? Vivek, were you going to make a comment?
Yeah, means I think all the explanation what they have given, I'm satisfied with that. They have put a lot of effort and all. Thank you for that. So at this moment, I don't have any questions. There are some tips for visualization, but I will hold that.
Thank you. Juliana.
Looking at the graph of parking duration, the first one, that significant spike for the 12-hour like appears to be like an anomaly, like it's very aggressive and a significant change in the data. Did you investigate the cause of that?
So which of the graphs are you referencing?
Sorry.
So I think it's in the first column of your poster at the bottom.
This one? Okay. Just gonna
Oh,
zoom.
yeah, so I can explain about this. So actually, we did investigate about the reason why there is a such change between 2019, 2020, and 2021. So actually, these changes, you can see the blue peak, the yellow peak indicates 2021. So we suspect that people living in Hamilton are back to work instead of work at home. So they need to park around the services or their working spots. Therefore, there will be a very long time duration of their parking. And that also shows that around 80% of people, they back to work and they just increased of their parking durations compared to the previous year, which only like most of people only park within 2 hours.
But did you go into the data and investigate where that change came from and how it was different from the other years? Because like what you're telling me is an assumption that people are back to work, yet they're parking according to your data much, much longer than they were in 2019, which was like normal and like presumably more people were at work. So like I'm just wondering if you went into the data and saw if that was coming from a specific lot where people were parking longer, or if it was like specific days or something like that that created that significant spike.
Can I give an answer for that? We made this assumption based on various data. Some we cannot put in because we kind of have no place anymore. The first one you can see that the time for parking in Hamilton is changing from 10 a.m. 12 p.m. to like earlier 2 hours, and it kind of fits with the time they're going for work in the morning more than the previous time. And the reason is this very difficult to explain why the amount of time for, like from 10 to 12 hours this time is so high other than work. And in the previous infographic poster, we attached the diagram about unemployment rate, and it's not quite fixed, but it's so that in the periods from September and October in 2021, it's time COVID a little calm down before we know about the new type COVID. So everything get back to normal. And that's why based on that station in real life, some sort data, we made up our assumption that as time the increased duration as September and October last year, it because of work, the people come back to work during that period. So, but because we are at quite some period of time to build up on the information, so we cannot make the further investigation.
Sure. And not a question, but a comment. Your conclusions are not related to your data, and in the future, I would suggest that you focus your conclusions on your actual findings. But other than that, lots of very interesting information and good comparisons. So thank you.
And just an additional point to your question and your initial question. There is from this first diagram here, we have way more data for 2021 in comparison with 2019. So I guess that's why the spike of people returning back to work is more evident in 2021, because the data of 2021 is almost about ×3 of what we have for 2019. So it's the change of people going back to work is more evident, and it's probably what kind of contributes, one of the contributing factors to why the spike is more obvious in 2021.
Sorry, how did you have more data for 2021 than the previous 2 years? Because wasn't it just 2019 where there was some lots missing, and then some were decommissioned in 2021. So you would theoretically have less data.
So I'm referring to the parking hours. We've got in 2021 we have about 442,000 parking hours, and whereas in 2019 we only experienced about 138,000 parking hours. So I'm referencing that parking hours as to why it is that we have kind of more data in regards to parking hours for 2021 other than 2019.
But you didn't have time to investigate where that was, right?
No, we didn't go in depthly, because for the first problem we're trying to get like a general overview, because the main aim of that was to kind of get the user groups and their behaviors. So we didn't necessarily investigate in depthly into where
and that's fine. You guys had very little time. It's just when you run into things like that, like those limitations, just state them clearly, like in your work, that it's like, oh, there's an anomaly here. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to investigate it.
Yeah, noted.
Yeah, we use the word assumption many times in this presentation. So I think it's how we present us. We don't have enough backup information for us.
All right, I'm going to cut in here. Because we're running up against time. Unless there's any urgent question from any of the judges. I want to thank you for your presentation. Very interesting and informative. We're going to wrap up this session now, and we'll take a minute or two and transition over to the next session. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, team. That was awesome.